Alright, here's the removal of a power steering pump off a 2006 Saab 9 turbo. First thing you want to do is pop this little sensor off. It's just a pressure fitting. You want to make sure that you've got a zip tie up here so that you can get the return hose synced up. This first little sensor is a 3/4 inch bolt. Comes out pretty easily. There's not going to be any fluid out of this one, so you just want to move it off to the side. All in all, this is actually a pretty easy job. Probably set aside about 2 hours for it. The bleeding process is really where the time is. Next thing you're going to want to do is take this return hose off of the reservoir. It's just got a standard pipe clamp, hose clamp on it. Pops off, and then use your zip tie that you conveniently place there to keep all the fluid in it so you don't make a big mess. I definitely recommend having a oil pan or something under the car to catch drips. There are 2 bolts that mount it to the block here. They are both 1/2 inch. One's on the top, one's on the bottom. The one on the bottom is a little bit difficult to get to, but once you got it on, it should come off pretty easily. Again, the 2 socket sizes you're going to need are 1/2 inch for the 2 mounting bolts and 3/4 inch for the sensor. Once you got those out, it should slide right out. Personally, I like to not spill a bunch of stuff, but that's up to you. And this is the new pump. We fitted our gasket to it so that it lines up well. I recommend lining up that bottom bolt in the slot on the new pump before you put it in. Otherwise you might end up dropping it and you have to take it out. It's kind of difficult the other way around. Just finger tightening it for now so we can get it lined up. That bottom bolt is a little bit difficult. If you're just patient with it, it'll go in pretty easily. Sometimes you might want to clean the threads out if you had it sitting around. This particular pump is a remanufactured one. Based on the pumps that we've worked with, I'd recommend not going with the remanufactured one. They seem to have a couple of issues that cause some headaches. Paying a little bit extra for the new one does seem to pay off. Don't cinch one bolt down before the other one. Try to keep them even, just like any other thing that you're bolting in, just so you don't get something out of whack or tweak it or bolt it in unevenly. There are torque specifications that you can find in your Saab manual or on any forum website. I don't have them handy right now, but it's a good idea to get those down so you don't squish your gasket out too much. This is us taking the stopper. It's just a plastic cap so we can put everything back on the way it came off. once you've got this hose clamp back on it, you've essentially got the new pump mounted. You just need to make sure that you bleed the system. That's pretty important. So we're going to go into that process next here. We'll switch the camera angles up so you can see what it looks like and how to go through that process. The fluid that you need to use is pretty specific for this car. You've got to go with 11S. It actually is a little bit difficult to find in just smaller auto parts stores. We had to go to a really big AutoZone for it. You can order it online. In AutoZone, it's actually pretty expensive, so if you've got some time before you do this project, I'd recommend finding an online retailer. It'll save some money.
Well, so we've already done this process, but we figured we'd get it on film for you. This is the bleeding process. You gotta have your wheels off the ground, of course. You're gonna just basically turn this wheel lock to lock at about this space. Speed, pace, whatever you want to call it. About this speed, you'll lock it like that. Come back around. You're gonna do this, I would say, about 20 times, if not more. And basically what you're doing is bleeding out any air bubbles in the system. What really is gonna happen is at one point you're not gonna see any bubbles in your power steering reservoir, and it'll be fluctuating in height because it is a pressure system. So don't think that's actually bubbles always, but after that, once you see no bubbles, we'll show you where you're looking at. And then you're gonna be looking into your power steering pump reservoir. Basically, you're looking for no bubbles to be popping out. Once you've seen that, you turn your car on for maybe 3 seconds. Turn it right back off, check again, no bubbles. If there are, you continue your bleeding process. After you see no bubbles, after a quick turn on, turn off, you top it off with any fluid. If it's a little low, then you can drop your car down and it should be good to go. And if you hear any noises after that, when you put it down and start moving it, you know your power steering pump's not either fully bled, or you have a problem with either your high pressure line or the pump itself. The high pressure line, the torque is very specific on most of these cars. So this is going to be one of the things you really want to make sure is on the right.
Do you remember what the torque spec is on this car?
No way. No idea.